The finale of the Family Chantel finally dropped, and it was a lot. From Chantel and Pedro's marriage falling apart to Pedro filing for divorce, you'll never believe what went down between Chantel and Pedro. So this season of the Family Chantel has honestly been crazy. There was just so much drama, and the last episode was no different. We got to see things really fall apart between Pedro and Chantel, and some of the stuff that happened genuinely shocked me, mainly everything that Pedro did and said. I mean, his behavior was just so weird. So throughout the episode, he kept showing up at Chantel's door, and he went to her hotel and her house, and he basically just kept stalking her and blaming her for everything, and he was out there shouting at her and trying to play the victim at the same time, and I have no idea what was going on in his head. I just felt awful for Chantel, and when Pedro first turned up at, her hotel, he immediately started blaming her for all kinds of things. He was super angry at her for taking, money from their joint bank account, even though he did the same thing not that long ago. And it was like he forgot he was the one who did this first, and he was the one who took $5,000 out of their account, out of nowhere. So why is he pretending like she's the one who's in the wrong here? And he also found out that she kept some of his K1 paperwork and he wanted to take it back, which I get, but Chantel said she was the one who paid for the paperwork, so it was hers. And Pedro obviously didn't like that, and he made that very clear, and it was honestly uncomfortable to watch, and he was really trying to manipulate her into just handing everything over to him, and he kept saying that the money and the paperwork should be his, and that Chantel was the one in the wrong here. But then Chantel told him that she'd already called the cops on him, and honestly, his reaction to that was one of the best parts of the entire episode. You could see the fear in his face, and I'm pretty sure he must have known he was in the wrong this whole time, because as soon as Chantel mentioned calling the cops, he turned around and walked away so fast. I mean, he definitely knew the money and the paperwork were Chantel's. And if the cops came, they would say the same and humiliate him even further. So he just drove off immediately. And we also got to see more of Pedro's mom, Lydia, in this episode, which was just so weird. The fact that she finally came to visit him once, he and Chantel separated is just really suspicious to me. And it genuinely makes me think this whole thing has been a scam on Pedro's side. And that, his plan has been this all along. And I mean, I really wanted to believe that he cared about Chantel, at least at one point in their relationship, but now I kind of think he was probably just using her this whole time. I mean, the timing of this entire relationship is just really weird, and it feels like he's just been waiting until he could apply for the permanent citizenship, and now that he's able to do that, he just completely changed, and he and Chantel have been together so long, but he's now acting like this means nothing to him, and he's become really cold and distant toward her, and I just feel like this might have something to do with the fact that he can now stay in the U.S. without her, and he doesn't need her anymore, and he can also now bring Lydia and his sister Nicole to the US with him. And I'm starting to think that they've all planned this from the very beginning. Because now Lydia's in the US and she's all for Pedro and Chantel getting a divorce. And I mean, just think about the difference between Chantel's family and Pedro's family and their reaction to this whole thing. Chantel's family has been super supportive of her, and it's honestly been so nice to see. And then you have Pedro and his family. All of them just, seem to find this situation almost funny. Like, all they seem to care about is the money, but that's it. None of them seem sad about what happened at all. Not even Pedro, who's all about the money as well. And plus, let's not forget that Chantel wanted to work on their relationship. She didn't want to just give up immediately. She wanted to go to counseling with Pedro and work through their issues, and she was willing to fight for their marriage, but Pedro wasn't. And Chantel actually questioned him about this, during this episode, but he just didn't seem to care, and this is why I think Pedro never really wanted to be with her in the first place. He just wanted to get his citizenship and then leave her the first chance he got, which is exactly what he's been doing. And I do feel really bad for Chantel, but I also think that maybe this is for the best, because now that we know who Pedro really is, I feel like she'd be better off without him anyway. I mean, just look at everything he said about Chantel. He's been telling us how awful he thinks she is and trying to sell us this narrative about how she's lazy and has no goals and is all about money, when all those things just apply apply to him more than they apply to her. And how is he going to claim that she's only about money when he's the one coming to her house looking through her stuff? I mean, it's become super clear that Pedro's a massive liar. He's been lying to everyone, saying things about Chantel that clearly aren't true, while also lying to her, and he might have even lied to his own family. And because, I mean, have you noticed how Pedro's mom seems to think that Pedro is the one who's been paying for all these different things? And he's clearly told her all kinds of different lies, like that he paid for Chantel's school and her car, which is so obviously a lie since she had that car before he ever even got here. And he's been trying to portray himself as this successful, rich guy who's paying for everything, when that's just not the case at all. He's not done bad for himself by no means, but he's nowhere near as successful as he'd like us to believe. And I mean, have you seen those bizarre pictures that he posted to his business page? He posted a bunch of shirtless pictures pretty much out of nowhere, and this was to his business page where he talks about real estate achievements and other work-related stuff. So presumably the people that follow him on there follow him for real estate reasons, not to see him without his shirt off. And it just seems so unprofessional. Like, what is he trying to achieve here? Is he trying to attract female clients or something? Because it's just so weird, and I feel like it will definitely put a lot of people off. But that's the thing about Pedro. He clearly has no idea what he's doing, and he's trying to make himself look like this amazing guy that has it all, but really, he's just really manipulative and a liar who never takes responsibility and blames everything on Chantel. And like I said, I do feel bad for Chantel, but I also think this might be for the better. She'd be better off without Pedro anyway, and everything that he's done. So maybe it's good that he decided to file for divorce, even if I still don't get why he felt the need to come to her house to tell her about the divorce papers again when she already knew. I just don't get him at all. But what do you guys think? Did you watch the finale? And what do you think about Pedro's behavior? Let me know in the comments below. And guys, like always, do me a huge favor. Hit that like, follow, share, subscribe button. And y'all better stay tuned for many more videos.